Morning everybody. I'm so not prepared today. Hope you're all doing okay out there. Welcome to Darkshed Live Tea Break. It's episode 6, 1, I don't know. And it's Thursday, the 16th of April. I hope you're okay and you're staying safe and you're at home enjoying lockdown still if you're in the UK and anywhere else that's currently completely locked down. So last week, talking of lockdown, last week we made the lockdown print, which was a combination of techniques that just confused, like, sorry, didn't get much sleep last night. Produced a book album cover style print entirely in the darkroom. At one point I did shoot and use an inkjet transparency, but I then went back and did it in an angular style. So if you haven't seen that already, go back, check it out. And as always, if you've got any questions, stick them in the comments. A couple of people coming in. Good morning, Hillary, and good morning, I assume that's Chris. Hello, good morning, hope you're both well. So today's subject, I had a question through from Al, who said, could you go through, I hope you've got a cup of tea today because this is probably going to be a bit of a longer broadcast. Could you go through your selection process of which image you want to print and why after you've made a contact sheet? As in, why do you choose an egg and do you make edits mentally first? So thank you very much for that, Al. It's a great question. And in all honesty, I don't make contact sheets. So that workflow for me is a bit redundant. It's something that used to be done, had to be done years ago because it was the only option you had. Whereas my workflow now is that I scan all my negatives as soon as I've got a process going that I develop, dry, scan, and I kind of batch do it all. And as I'm doing that, I'm then putting those contact sheets together virtually in Lightroom and able to analyze and pick which ones I'm going to print from there. I do sometimes make contact sheets because as an item, like as a print themselves, it's actually quite a nice thing to have, especially if it's like all from like one event or something like that, and because it tells quite a nice story of them all. Now I've got a couple of examples here that we can show you, and these aren't my examples, but they illustrate it a hell of a lot better than my work does. So this book is the Magnum Contact Sheets book. It's a beast. It's a classic. I got it. I treated myself to it as a Christmas present a few years ago. And it's also great for flattening fibre prints. So yeah, dual purpose. This one I've bookmarked here is a series of images by Stuart Franklin of kids playing in Moss Side in Manchester. So you can see this is the final print that was chosen. This is the contact sheet that was created from it here. I think there's no catch-all answer to which negative you would choose to print, because it's all about the context of where that image is going to be used. So I don't know the circumstances of these images, whether they were press photos or just kind of documentary, but so for example, if they were to be used in like a newspaper, there might be criteria on the actual image dimensions, whether it's landscape or portrait. There might be kind of, I don't know if there were like technical requirements back then regards kind of sharpness or anything like that. So all those have to be taken into consideration when you're choosing the print, and that's no different to now, whether you're doing it digitally or analog. You kind of got to think one step ahead. Where is this image going to be used? And you can do that, I guess, even if you're just making a print for your own home. You know, is a portrait image going to look better than a landscape image in a particular location? Like, think about how big do you want to print it. If you're going to print it quite large, you might be thinking, well, does this image need to be sharper than the others? And then that all ties back with what film choice you're going to be using for the amount of grain and the aesthetic and everything like that. So it's very much about context. Looking at this sequence of images though, I don't know how well you can see this on this camera, these individual images, but they're all very similar. They're all from a sequence of events of children playing on this shipping container and climbing up, and they've got some mattresses laid down and they're all jumping off it, and it's a fantastic scenario of action. Hopefully you can see in these first ones there's a couple where there's some foreground interest. Like the earlier ones, there's not much kind of contact between the photographer and what's going on, and the latter ones you can see the children are starting to get closer, and they're almost like standing and posing in front of him, and it helps with the composition as well of the frame. So if the first criteria of picking one of these images was it needed to be landscape, these ones can be ruled out initially. So then we're on to this one, and looking at the difference in the frames, you've got ones where like someone's just jumped off here but they're overlapping the buildings in the background. So it then comes down to the kind of composition elements, and you can totally see why this one was chosen because of the flight of the child here. It's a fantastic image. So just quickly, because I don't want to make this too long this morning, we'll move on to the next one, which is a completely different choice. Trent Park. These were taken in Australia, I believe. It's super possum in New South Wales, and the story behind it is this possum would jump from the roof to the tree every night in the same way, and he was able to go out and capture it as a sequence. And so when you first look at the contact sheet for this, it's all very similar style images, but there are subtle differences in like the compositional elements, how well exposed the tree is. I assume he's firing a flash up at it, which is why you get this massive blown out look on the actual possum. And immediately kind of looking at it for me, you can see these images here aren't as strong because there isn't as much light on the trees. The possum's evident in all of them. But I'd be looking for something like one of these, maybe like this one here. They're quite nice, but I don't know how well you can see that, but the tree is completely blown out, so there's no detail in it. Like for me, I'd be picking between these two, possibly. Maybe that one. And the closer you look at it, you can do this from your contact strips or from your scans, you'd be able to see what details there. The key thing about the one that was chosen, which I believe is that one, I assume, the possum's got a really nice sharp outline to it, which these ones don't. There's so much glare from the flash. So you've got a really defined shape in the possum, and I think that's why that one was probably chosen for printing. So there we go. I'd recommend this book. It's just interesting to see other people's workflows and processes and stuff like that. Yeah, some great images in it. Am I breaking copyright by putting that on a live stream? I don't know. It's educational. That's fair enough, isn't it? So today I'm going to make a contact sheet from some negatives recently. These were the ones I think I showed a couple of weeks ago. But I touched on the FP4 party, and they're all of the same subject. They're all from kind of one project, which was shot on one roll of FP4. And as you can see, there are lots of similar shots. So I was going around the woods with an off-camera flash and highlighting particular trees, subjects, to make them stand out. So I'd get into a position which I liked, and then I'd be trying different exposures, different positions of the flash. So when I'm looking at these images, I'm going to be basically picking, I'm probably going to want to have 3 images in total that work well together from it. So it'd be about picking the 3 best scenes. There was a lot of experimentation involved. I've already kind of got an idea of which ones are going to work from looking at the scans. And then from the contact sheets, I'll be able to pick out, hopefully, which ones based on what the exposure's like and make sure they're all in focus and everything. So we'll take this over to the larger. Alex, oh fantastic, you've made it. This is for you. Right. So let's bring more to come up. So to do a contact sheet print, You can do it without one of these. This is a contact. I'll just take this back over here. This is actually a contact printing frame, and the negatives are held in it, and the little metal catch is here and here. You can just have your paper, lay the negatives out, and then put a piece of glass over the top. You want the emulsion side down, so you get a nice cut. It's just making a contact print basically. But this just, you put them all together and it clamps in and holds it all flat. I think I got this as part of a pack of loads of other bulk buy thing off eBay once. So I didn't buy it specifically, but I don't think they're that expensive. And the process is exactly the same as making other prints. You do a test strip to start with, you work out your exposure. Generally I use a lower contrast for, if I'm using it to analyse, I'd use low contrast for the exposure, lower contrast filters, just so I can see if there's any details in the shadows. And the setup, I haven't got my wide camera. I've taken the negative out of the negative carrier, so it's just blasting light through the lens and through the filter onto there. And then the setup is exactly the same. You just don't have a negative in the carrier because the negative is there. Let's turn this light out. Oh, the other thing you need to do in test strip, of course, is a piece of card. And if I put that. Ah, let's use a box. That'll do. Right. Hopefully you can still see. I treated myself to a little HDMI capture card, so I've actually got my GoPro hooked up here now. Thank you very much for everybody who's watching, because yeah, it's really nice of you, and I'm really enjoying it. So I spent a bit more time on kind of like, I haven't even put the sheet in yet. That's not going to work, is it? Told you, I didn't get much sleep last night. I've been exposed to a new word that I've never heard for recently, and that's sleep regression, which is great fun. You've ever experienced that? It's not me, it's going through sleep regression. Right, so test strip, let's take it out this time. Okay, make sure it's shiny side up. Stick it in there. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, thank you very much for watching. It's kind of encouraged me to spend a bit more time on the graphics and the setup, and I'm still working through it. But yeah, it's really nice of you, thank you. Okay. That. Right, I've got the right. I've got a filter in there. Yeah, can't remember what filter I've set up. So, as I said, with this project, the images have been groups of like 2 to probably 4 or 5 of a particular scene that I was shooting at the time, and it'll be a case of picking out my preferred images from them as a whole. I'm thinking it might work very nice as a set of 3 images, and then from those individual scenes I'll then pick out the best one. Anything else about doing these contact sheets? Oh, you don't need an enlarger to make them. So if you've got a load of negs at home, but you don't have an enlarger, again, like we were making the photograms a couple of weeks ago, you can just use a flash, off-camera flash on your camera, or you could just use a lamp. You know, all you've got to do is lay your negatives on some photosensitive paper, and then put a bit of glass over the top or something to hold it all flat, and then work out your exposure time using a light source, because it doesn't need to be focused either. You know, like putting the negative in front of it. It's exactly the same as photograms. It's really easy to make, and like I say, actually, like making a contact sheet, that item itself can be a really nice thing to create. So we're in the fix. It's not looking too bad as a starter. Okay, let's flick the light on. Let's go through this fairly quick. And the wash. Drop the tongs in that. Tea towels. I've got tea towels everywhere in here. Don't ever throw tea towels out. Bring them to your dark room. Okay, so that's looking good. What are we looking at? 1, 2, 3. Let's go for that one. 4. I can see some detail in the shadows there. Okay, I'm just going through this quite quickly. It's just so we can get the contact sheet done. Check. Got any questions so far? Morning, Tara. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. Hilary remembers sleep progression. Ugh. And from what we've been told, there's no way knowing how long it's going to last. So I just got to write it out. Tired. The best thing that happened a couple of days ago was she decided to poke me in the eye. Now, she's got the cutest little fingers, but they've got incredibly sharp nails on them, and they're really hard to cut. And what did I say? 4, 1. Yeah, poked me in the eye. And if that wasn't enough, she decided to do it again. Second time. So now my eye, I think she scratched it or something, and it's just at night, it's just sticking. Like my eyelid's sticking with goop, and it's all just quite painful. Not great for photography or working in the darkroom. Anyway, there we go. Right, so put a whole piece of paper under, change the exposure time. If you're using an enlarger or any light source, the key thing is just making sure that the light covers all of the negatives equally. Ideally, you want it coming down from the top. Okay. So what we'll do on Sunday, I'll get this developed and washed now, and then on Sunday I'll actually use this to choose an image, rather than, I've kind of cheated because I have seen these in digital form already from scanning them, but hopefully what I pick here will align with what I've chosen from a digital selection as well. In my experience, it's fairly obvious, and it is all down to the subject. So, like, if you've got a sequence of like events or a gig or something like that, or I don't know, party, family or whatever, it's pretty obvious which ones are going to be the best images. I might be able to cook that a bit. There's no way of getting every frame perfect with a contact sheet because your exposure's generally going to sway a bit between frames. But this is why I generally use like a lower contrast because it helps with that. So one thing that I love about film photography is it makes you think about the end before you even start. So if you're thinking about what you're going to do with these images and the way they're going to be presented in the final case, you work that back and it makes you think about your film selection, your paper choices, your composition, your framing. Like if you start at the end and work backwards, just changes your approach to your photography. That's not bad. Some of the images are very dark in that. Not surprised. Yeah, so this run here really quite underexposed compared to these ones. Once I've signed off for today, I'll do another one of those with a little less exposure on it, so it's ready for Sunday. So, if you have any questions about contact sheets, and it looks quite nice. That one doesn't particularly look that great, but as an object itself, like I love doing them for like events and for gigs and stuff because it tells the whole story. But yeah, let's just bring that over here so you can see it a bit clearer, hopefully. That's like the personal letter from Boris Johnson that I hope everyone's received. I was going to try and incorporate it into the lockdown print somehow, but it didn't really work. Right. Easel cam has frozen. Oh well. Technic. What the? That's my new little toy as well. Why has that happened? Might just be the batteries run out on the GoPro. I'll have a look at that later. So that's quick contact sheets. Why you would do them, why you wouldn't do them. It's quite a slow thing to do, and you end up using paper for it. It does, I guess, give you a gauge of how the native looks on photographic paper, which it's completely different to a digital representation. So I guess it does have that benefit. I just don't normally do it because I'm scanning them and reviewing them and processing them in Lightroom anyway. So it's a bit of a wasted step. But they do look great, don't they? They do look really nice. Right, so there we go. On Sunday, 2 PM, I'll be picking one of these images and start the process of printing it. I have actually already started on one of them, but I'll choose another one and we'll go from scratch with that. If you've got any further questions, please put them on Twitter, #darkshedlive, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Was there anything else? I don't think so. That's all. Have a great Thursday, everybody, and see you soon. Take care. Bye.